Hello, my fellow Alaskans. How are we all doing out there today? Looks like we're having a little bit of problems trying to get connected to X right now. But as for the rest of them, again, we are live here. You can find us on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, all of those all connected up just fine. And I'm going to go ahead and retry to get X to restream here and see if it will do what I'm hoping it will do. But we have everybody, yes, everybody else out there is up and connected. Currently in my ear, I have Governor Mike Dunleavy's press conference, which is our state of the state of Alaska, which is about ready to begin. Please make sure to like, share. This is going to be the only broadcast that you're going to find out there that is on multiple channels. And I'm glad to see you guys all here. Still trying to get X to reconnect here. Try it one more time. It's showing it's sending data. Okay, it looks like they're just about ready to get things rolling over on the other end. Let's get that popped up on the screen here. I'm going to Governor Mike Dunleavy is about ready to give the state of address of Alaska to all of us, and it looks like they are getting ready to gavel in there on the scene. Let me turn up my volume in my ear so we're not missing anything. All right, sounds like they got something good and rolling going on there. So let's go ahead and get that on the scene, and so you guys can all hear too.
A little background on those guests. Alaska State Trooper Sergeant Jared Knoll is the supervisor for the Matsu Narcotics Enforcement Team, one of 6 regional trooper-led drug task forces in Alaska, and has served the state as an Alaska State Trooper since 2011. He previously worked as a patrol trooper responding to misdemeanor and felony calls for service and as a drug investigator prior to being promoted to his assignment. Through efforts of Sergeant Knoll and his regional task force, millions of potentially fatal doses of fentanyl have been seized, along with 175 pounds of illegal drugs. Sergeant Knoll was awarded the DPS Purple Heart in 2015 and a commendation for meritorious service in 2017. Oh, and it looks like we're seeing the House and Senate gavel in. That means the bodies have convened. Let's see what we have going on here. All right, it looks like they're taking a little more time before we go to the governor.
And all members be shown as present.
Thank you. Without objection, so ordered. Will Senator Kawasaki and Representative Holland please escort the governor into the chamber for a joint session?
Senators Kawasaki of Fairbanks and Representative Holland of Anchorage have been asked to escort the governor to the House chamber. They've left the chamber as we await the governor. And if you are just joining us, this is special coverage of Governor Mike Dunleavy's State of the State address from Cavill, Alaska, and KTOO. We're standing by in Juneau for the governor. And we're broadcasting today on KTOO 360 TV and on public radio stations across the state. We're also streaming on ktoo.org. And we're still standing by for the governor. He should be coming down the hall to the House of Representatives on the 2nd floor of the state capitol at any moment now. We've got photographers waiting with their cameras poised to see him come in. But apparently they're walking slowly to the House of Representatives today. Excellent. And still no sight of the governor. The House of Representatives and the Senate are still waiting in the House chambers. And while he may be slow to enter tonight, last year he was a day late due to a flight issue, so this is nothing like that wait. All right. Photographers are still waiting in the halls. If you're just joining us, we're waiting for the Governor Mike Dunleavy's State of the State address.
Okay, if you're just tuning in, please take a moment right now to like and share this video.
Are still waiting in the hall.
Oops, let me turn that off there so that we're not having to listen to two conversations going on at once. Take a moment to, again, like and share this video. Make sure everybody's able to participate in the State of the State address for the state of Alaska by Governor Mike Dunleavy. We're supposed to hear all of the agenda things that our governor would like to see happen. The KTOO is, I'm rebroadcasting their broadcast there off of Gavel, Alaska. If you want to watch it there, you can. And here comes the governor. Let me go ahead and mute myself out and let's get the show rolling.
Governor Dunleavy is making his way into the chamber now. Hope we've got reporters running ahead to catch video and photo of the governor.
Ladies and gentlemen, the governor of the great state of Alaska.
Now here's Governor Dunleavy. The governor's welcome.
I got a little cold today, so I'm going to do the best I can. A little cold. Full house. Full House and Senate. Anyway, so I want to thank you all. I want to thank Lieutenant Governor Dahlstrom, Senate President Stevens, Speaker Edgman, and members of the 34th Legislature. I want to thank you for the invitation to speak to you tonight, and to our fellow Alaskans as well. Got a bit of a cold here, folks. Got to bear with me. So before I continue, I want to recognize my wife and the mother of our three daughters, Maggie, Catherine Seal, my wife, First Lady Rose Dunleavy. Thank you, Rose. Thank you for being such a great mom and the rock of our household, seriously. I'd also like to recognize the members of my cabinet in attendance tonight. Could you please stand and be recognized? Cabinet. Thank you for everything you're doing for the great state of Alaska. I appreciate it very much. To the members of the legislature, welcome, and thank you for being here to represent your fellow Alaskans. As I look around this room, I see many familiar faces and many new ones as well. Whether this is your first session or your fifth, what we all have in common is that we were sent here by fellow Alaskans. We ask the people of Alaska for their trust and for the honor and responsibility to serve their interest here in Juneau. We can't ever forget that. As I begin my 7th year in office, I know I haven't. We were voted in by the people, but we know that the halls here are also filled with special interests. As I've always said, there's nothing wrong with special interests. but they don't speak on behalf of the people. We govern for those who get up every day and go to work and take care of their families, but don't necessarily have a lobbyist here in Juneau. We govern for the parent sending their kids off to school every day, expecting them to receive the best education possible. We govern for the elders who may rely on their communities to help fill their freezers or to gather firewood to keep them warm during the winter. Whatever policies we make down here, the ultimate question should not be how we impact the special interests. They're never going to be happy no matter what. We know that. The question we must always ask ourselves is how our actions will impact our constituents. For my time in this office, it's the fourth quarter. For some of you, it's the first. For others, well, let's just say it's overtime. And governors don't get to play overtime under our Constitution. For me, the clock is always ticking, and I have no intention of running out the clock and taking a knee with the time we have left. We organize in the teams down here in Juneau as well, and naturally there's going to be some competition. You even have a scoreboard over there that keeps track of when you push that red or green button on your desk. But we can't lose sight of the fact that in the end, we're all on the same team. We're on the team that represented by the blue sky and the gold of these 8 stars. We're on Alaska's team. That's who we're playing for. So I'm optimistic about this final quarter, and that's because I can look back at the past 6 years and see what we've accomplished by working together as a team of Alaskans to fulfill the destiny embedded in our state motto, quote, North to the future. And I look forward to working with each and every one of you, once again, to get our initiatives across the board for all Alaskans. So, how is our state doing? And this is an important question. What is our state of the state? So I'm going to go over some facts for us here. Because of our work accomplished together in a bipartisan fashion, the state of the state is heading in the right direction. And I'd like to share some of those stats with you tonight. Our population is not only stabilized, but has grown from about 734,000 in 2020 to more than 741,000 in 2024. A combination of immigration plus births has helped raise our population to the highest level since 2017. Our jobs are growing as well. Last year, we added more than 6,000 new jobs. And overall, jobs are nearly 4,000 greater than in 2019 before we were hit by the pandemic. And Alaska is projected to add another 5,300 jobs in 2025, which would break the all-time high reached in 2015. Our jobs grew at a faster rate than the rest of the U.S. for each of the past 2 years. Our wage growth was 6.4%, while the rest of the country averaged 5.5%. The unemployment rate in Alaska averaged 4.6% in 2024, well under the 10-year average of 5.9% for Alaska. Our investments are also growing as well. Assets managed by the Department of Revenue grew by nearly $600 million in 2024, the best performance in 10 years. The Alaska Permanent Fund has grown by nearly $16 billion since 2020 and is projected to reach the $100 billion milestone by 2031. The POMV draw on the Permanent Fund is scheduled for $3.65 billion in 2025 and projected at nearly $3.8 billion for 2026. Our state investment bank, known as ADA, grew its net income to a record high of $66 million in 2024 and has paid the state nearly $500 million in dividends since 1997. ADA is also leading our efforts for the biggest resource developments in Alaska's history to unlock our oil, our gas, and our minerals, including critical assets such as antimony and cobalt. Our airport in Anchorage, the second busiest cargo hub in the U.S., and fourth busiest, sometimes third, but fourth busiest in the world, is also growing. 5 new cargo carriers moved in last year, and cargo activity grew by nearly 5% during that time. In addition, Delta and United announced plans to expand their operations in Alaska, and WestJet will begin its first ever service between Anchorage and Calgary this summer. Activity on the North Slope is also growing as well. First oil from phase 1 of the Santos Repsol Pica project is scheduled for 2026, with peak production estimated at 80,000 barrels per day. Pica phase 2 is projected to produce another 80,000 barrels per day at peak production as well. The Willow project by ConocoPhillips is anticipated to produce at peak production 180,000 barrels per day starting in 2029. The overall investment is anticipated in that project to be over $8 billion, with approximately 2,500 jobs created during the development of Willow. In addition, the Nuna project, also by ConocoPhillips, is now in production with 20,000 barrels anticipated per day. 2024, Hillcorp also invested around $870 million into oil and gas in Alaska. In 2024, Hillcorp produced 39 million barrels of oil on the North Slope, a 2% increase compared to 2023. In 2025, they plan to spend over $900 million on energy projects in Alaska and plan on producing 41 million barrels of oil on the North Slope, a 5% increase compared to 2024. There is additional work on the slope that will likely add thousands more barrels of oil in the very near future. There's also positive news on the mining front as well. The Red Dog mine received approval from the federal government for its permit to build a road to an additional find that will extend the life of that mine. The Graphite 1 deposit, the largest in North America, which is north of Nome, continues to move ahead with support from a Defense Department grant. Construction could begin in that project by 2027, and the mine could be producing as early as 2029. Our Alaska Energy Authority, also known as AEA, is also moving ahead with a number of important energy projects that will reduce our reliance on gas. The Dixon Diversion Project will be a $342 million expansion of Bradley Lake, the largest hydroelectric facility in Alaska. It'll benefit 550,000 Alaskans, or 75% of the state's population. And construction is scheduled to begin in 2027. During construction, estimates are for 3,250 jobs, with a total economic output estimated at $584 million. Another energy project is the Sterling to Quartz Creek transmission upgrade. It'll help to modernize the rail belt's aging transmission system, which, as we know, is over 50 years old. This line carries 88% of the energy generated by Bradley Lake. Construction began this year and should be completed by 2028. During construction, an estimated 460 jobs will be created with a total economic output of approximately $96 million. One other project is the high voltage direct current line, or HVDC, submarine transmission line from the Kiski to Beluga. Construction should start in 2027. Again, during construction, it's estimated that 1,470 jobs should result in a total economic output of $332 million. That's 5,180 jobs in the next 6 years and over $1 billion, that's with a B, $1 billion in combined economic activity from these projects. This is great news for Alaska. The Alaska Liquefied Natural Gas Project is also progressing. With all federal permits in hand, rights of ways defined, sellers and buyers of gas in negotiations, and builders, operators, and financiers discussing partnerships, the decades-old dream of cheap, plentiful natural gas may soon be a reality, with signed agreements on the near horizon. This project, supported by the Biden administration and championed by the Trump administration, will be the largest LNG project in the world. Thousands of great-paying jobs, reduced energy costs, long-term energy stability, and industry moving to Alaska will be the result. So as you can see, there's quite a lot happening here in the great state of Alaska. Through our hard work together, we've also made Alaska a safer place by coming together to reform our criminal justice system and put the rights of victims ahead of criminals. We've rebuilt our ranks of state troopers and village public safety officers. When I took office, there were just 382 budgeted state and wildlife trooper positions. Today, we are at 411 positions, and I'm requesting an additional 5 troopers in my budget to reopen the shuttered Trapper Creek post. We have 77 VPSOs serving rural Alaskans as first responders, the highest number we've had since 2014. My proposed budget asks for funding 5 more of these positions. We've added 4 dedicated MMIP investigators and 3 additional child crime investigators to solve cases in rural Alaska. We cleared the sex assault test kit backlog and introduced legislation to create a tracking system for these kits to ensure such a backlog never happens again. We're also collecting long overdue DNA. Like the processing of sexual assault kits, this evidence helps bring justice to victims and accountability for criminals. The stats don't lie. Our overall crime rate is down 37% since 2018. Property crime is also down 42%. Violent crime is down 17%. Felony sexual assault is down 27% as well. There's still much more work to be done to ensure every Alaskan, no matter who they are or where they live, can feel safe in their homes and communities. At the same time, we should be proud of the progress we've made so far. And I want to thank the members of the legislature, past and present, who have supported this administration's request for more resources to protect Alaskans and to deliver justice to those who would do them harm. I'll be asking for your support again this year for more state troopers and more PSOs, more special investigators, and more response resources to double down on making Alaska safer. Together, we'll make sure that the only people who don't feel safe in Alaska are the criminals. But as I mentioned, we still have a lot to do. We're confronting a crisis of fentanyl being trafficked into our state that must be stopped. Last year, with your help, we passed enhanced sentencing up to second-degree murder for those who deal in this poison that results in the death of Alaskans. When I announced this legislation in October 2022, it was a threat. Tonight, it's a promise. To those who are still dealing and poisoning Alaskans, justice is coming. So I strongly suggest leaving our great state now, where you're going to be staying here a very long time, courtesy of our Department of Corrections. The cartels aren't going to stop trying, though. And for the drugs that make it through, our state troopers will continue to lead the interdiction efforts. In 2018, our troopers seized 78 pounds of illegal drugs. Last year, their efforts led to the seizure of more than 572 pounds of drugs. More than 24 troopers across the state in rural and urban areas have doubled down on this effort over the past 3 years. They've seized tens of millions of doses of potentially lethal drugs as soon as they touch down in Alaska, before they ever reach our streets. These deadly drugs often come in small packages through our mail system. Last year, the U.S. Postal Service actually named Alaska state troopers as a national exemplary partner as the most productive law enforcement agency in the country at stopping the flow of illicit drugs into our communities. And like you, I'd like to take this moment to congratulate our troopers for this honor and their efforts. And once again, thank you guys for everything you're doing. A leader in these efforts is Sergeant Jared Knoll of the Alaska State Troopers, who is based in the Mat-Su with the statewide drug enforcement unit. He joined the troopers in 2011 on patrol before transferring to the drug enforcement unit in 2018, and he was promoted to sergeant in 2021. Sergeant Knoll helped lead a multi-agency effort last year over several months, tracking dealers selling drugs and fentanyl poison in our Mat-Su and Kenai Peninsula communities. Not only did it lead to the indictments of 4 individuals involved in a multi-state trafficking operation, but they also seized over 75 pounds of drugs, including heroin, meth, cocaine, and more than 35 pounds of fentanyl. That's nearly 9 million fatal doses of fentanyl, or enough to kill every Alaskan more than 10 times over. There's no doubt that this work by Sergeant Knoll and his fellow law enforcement officers saved countless lives, and we're so grateful for all they're doing to protect Alaskans. Sergeant Knoll, you are standing, but I want to recognize you on behalf of all the troopers and your efforts to keep Alaskans safe, and again, on the efforts of your brothers and sisters in law enforcement at all levels. Thank you for everything you guys are doing. Again, thank you, Sergeant Knoll, and your brothers and sisters in law enforcement for everything you're doing for the great state of Alaska. Public safety has been the top priority for this administration from day one. And thanks to bipartisan support, as you've seen, we're making real, measurable progress. I also ran for this office with a priority to improve our educational outcomes. And I'm pleased to report progress on this front as well. Nearly 3 years ago, in a bipartisan vote of 41 out of 60 members of the legislature, we passed the Alaska Reads Act to ensure that every student would be proficient in reading by 3rd grade. Now that the Reads Act is being implemented, what are the results showing? The early data is very encouraging. In the last academic year, according to assessments used by school districts across the nation, the percentage of Alaskan students who met early literacy benchmarks grew from 41% to 57%. Among kindergarten students, proficiency rates rose from 24% at the beginning of the year to 60% by the end of the year. According to national data released last June, Alaska students outpaced the national growth in kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grades. I need to repeat that since the Reads Act passed, the data shows we are outpacing the nation for reading growth at these grade levels. This is astounding. But it shows how well kids can do when we all focus on reading. Our classroom instructors deserve our thanks for this progress. And I'd like to take a moment for us to thank all the teachers, all the aides, all the principals, everybody who are working so hard to make sure Alaska has the best educational outcomes in the nation. Thank you, guys. In the fall of 2023, research from Harvard University concluded that our charter schools are also the best performing charter schools in the nation. I'll say it again. Our charter schools are the best in the nation. But despite the evidence that parents want choice in public education, despite the evidence that students can succeed in more than one type of environment, there are some very loud voices that show up down here, like the swallows returning to Capistrano with megaphones and T-shirts, telling you and me that the only thing that really matters is money. We even have people that will take the state to the Supreme Court to try and limit student options and force them into a one-size-fits-all model. This is incredible. Thankfully, those people lost. But it shouldn't have to be this way. We shouldn't be fighting over great performing charter schools that parents and educators wish to expand. Parents and students shouldn't be put on a wait list to attend their schools of choice. And yet, every year, there are students on waiting lists trying to get into the school of their choice. Why? Parents know what's best for their kids and the environment they'll do best in. You know what's best for your kids, all of you do, and what environment they'll succeed in. We should be working to expand these opportunities, not stopping them. We shouldn't be wasting precious time and resources here in Juneau or in court fighting with people who want to limit options for parents and students. Shouldn't we be able to agree that what's important is supporting approaches to achieve better outcomes under the umbrella of public schools and ensuring needed funding is in place to support all school programs? These schooling options, charter schools and public homeschooling, are public schools. They're not private schools like some would want us to believe. I'll talk to anyone about money if the conversation is also about different approaches and better outcomes. And that's why my education initiatives will include, that's what my educational initiatives will include this year. Our job is not to favor one over another and be led by special interests, but to serve all students by giving them as many choices as possible. Like education and public safety, I also ran for this office to ensure the state lives within its means. Over 6 budgets, this administration has held operating spending growth to just 8% since 2019. And the budget I've introduced for the next fiscal year is consistent with this trend while providing key investments in education, public safety, energy and affordability in housing and childcare. Holding spending in check has helped us put money into savings for times when oil prices are low, pay down debt, and improve our credit ratings, all while providing the essential services Alaskans expect. But money doesn't grow on trees. If we want more money for programs, we need more resource placed to fund them. That's the deal we made to become a state. That's how we overcame opponents to statehood who didn't believe we could support ourselves by taxing such a small population. We can support ourselves by creating more wealth from our resources, not pickpocketing cash from each other's pockets. Our permanent fund and our dividend paid as our people's rightful share of our resource wealth were built through the foresight of those who came before us and are the envy of fellow states. The fund has largely grown through the savings from our oil production, and it will grow further with deposits from future carbon markets once they are set up, as well as the Alaska LNG project and our mineral riches, as well as new projects on the North Slope. I also ran for this office to attract investment to Alaska, and under this administration, our business environment has remained stable and predictable. As a result, we've attracted billions of dollars of investments on the North Slope from our well-known operators and new entrants to the state. Forecasts are not written in stone, and decline is not inevitable as well. Decline is a choice, and I reject that choice. Most Alaskans, I believe, reject that choice. 10 years ago, in the 2014 revenue forecast, our North Slope production was predicted to be just 314 barrels per day by 2024. If that prediction had come true, if we allowed it to become true, we'd be preparing to dismantle one of the greatest engineering marvels the world has ever seen in the Trans-Alaskan Pipeline. Instead, our production last year was nearly 150,000 barrels per day greater than the 2014 forecast. And we are poised for additional growth in the coming years. As mentioned earlier, future production at the Nuna Field and Willow and Pika are only the beginning of a North Slope renaissance that will sustain our pipeline operations and stabilize our revenue for decades to come. At peak production, Willow, Pika, and Nuna will total about 280,000 barrels per day. That's more than half of our current volume in the pipeline. In a few years, because of this investment on the slope, we can be reporting overall production of over 650,000 barrels per day. That doesn't even account for the restoration of our opportunities at Anwar and full potential at NPRA under the Trump administration. Ada's leases that are being restored by the Trump administration are well situated to recover large amounts of some 3 to 4 billion barrels of oil estimated to lie in the northwest corner of the 1002 area. The Department of Interior estimates the state could see as much as an additional $2 billion per year in revenue if ANWR is fully developed. We can develop our way to prosperity if we're given the opportunity and we take advantage of it, just the way our future was envisioned at statehood. This administration has done its part to hang up the Open for Business sign on Alaska. And as governor, I couldn't be more excited about the next 4 years under the most pro-Alaskan president we've had ever in President Donald J. Trump. President Trump singled out Alaska out of all the 50 states for its own series of executive orders. This is unprecedented and demonstrates his view of the importance of Alaska as a solution to America's energy, manufacturing, and national security issues. We have a second chance at opportunities that look like they slipped away just 4 years ago. ANWR, the Ambler Mining District, NPRA, the Tongass, the King Cove Road, more than 5 million acres of overdue state land transfers, and so much more. The last administration took more than 6 executive orders and actions against Alaska. And it's no exaggeration that we were sanctioned more heavily than countries like Iran and Venezuela for the past 4 years by our own federal government. Now, under the Trump administration, we have hope. Now, under the Trump administration, we have hope for billions of dollars in opportunities, thousands of jobs, and increased economic and national security for Alaskans, our fellow Americans, and our allies around the world. All we have to do is embrace these opportunities and make sure we have policies in place that let the world know we are open for business, not just on federal lands, but state lands as well. Nobody can compete with our natural resources of every kind, including timber, minerals, oil, gas, land, water, and renewables. But in order to take advantage of our God-given resources, we must compete on policy with other states and sovereigns. We have the resources. We have the location on the globe, but we need the policies that give us the edge as an investment destination for private capital. To this end, my administration will be introducing legislation to ensure we have the most competitive licensing process that attracts professional talent and allows them to get to work quickly. To this end, the executive branch will be continually reviewing our permitting and regulatory processes to find efficiencies and remove barriers to investment and opportunities. We'll also be introducing a comprehensive education bill to ensure our schools have the best outcomes in the nation. We need the best trained workforce for the opportunities coming our way. And my proposed budget contains multiple initiatives to build this workforce for the future. And this will become a reality with your support. We need to get more Alaska lands also into the hands of Alaskans. And we'll be reintroducing legislation from last session to give every Alaskan a chance to live the Alaskan dream and get a piece of the last frontier. We need to manage our forest sustainably rather than watch our wealth go up in smoke every summer. And we'll be introducing legislation to this end to develop our vast untapped timber resources. These are policy decisions, and they're in our control, whether they're my ideas or your ideas. I don't really care whose idea it is, as long as it's moving Alaska forward and making us the most competitive place to live, raise a family, and do business. We need to craft these policies together. Not policies that are hers or his, but are policies for all Alaskans. Alaska is not an experiment anymore. like we were in 1959 when we joined the Union under a statehood compact unlike any other. We are required to develop our resources and settle our lands for the benefit of our people. We are not a fantasy or a folly, as the Alaska Purchase was called by critics of Secretary of State William Seward in 1867. Alaska has always been a place where risk is rewarded and where dreams turn into reality. Alaska has always been a place for those who think big and have a vision for what we can be. For those of us here in this room, we owe it to those who've come before us, for those we serve now, and for generations to come, to think big, to think bold, and to enact policies in order for us to compete. We've proven our ability to provide energy, food, and minerals to our nation and around the world. We've proven our strategic value as a true frontline fort on a dangerous frontier that's regularly being tested by Russian jets and Chinese ships and is at risk from North Korean missiles. We're an Arctic nation because of Alaska, and we stand ready to become the Panama of the North as shipping increases through the Bering Strait and the Northwest Passage. That's our reality. At the same time, Alaska allows the United States to project strength across the globe. We do have vulnerabilities to address here at home. We aren't connected to an electric grid. We're thousands of miles away from markets and dependent on a long and fragile chain for our supply, for our food. Again, that's the reality, and we can't propose policies to shore up our weaknesses unless we recognize these deficits. The good news is we have everything we need to take care of ourselves, and then some here in the great state of Alaska. I see these opportunities everywhere. I see opportunities to make Alaska safer. I see opportunities to increase choice in education and improve outcomes. I see opportunities to make Alaska a more affordable place to live, whether it's housing, childcare, food, or energy. I see the opportunities to monetize carbon, excuse me, and carbon capture and nature-based offsets, creating new revenues for the state of Alaska. I see opportunities that are second to none for energy of all kinds: oil, natural gas, coal, wind, solar, hydro, emerging sources in geothermal, tidal, hydrogen, and advanced nuclear. One energy opportunity should not and does not diminish the other. Things change quickly, and the energy transition as we once knew it just a few years ago is gone. The near future will not be about replacing one source of energy with another. Driven by advancements in supercomputing and artificial intelligence, the future of energy is now additionality from resources of all types. Energy demand is skyrocketing around the globe, and Alaska has everything we need to power and heat our homes and businesses affordably, reliably, and sustainably, while also exporting tremendous resources to the world. We'll address the short-term shortages of natural gas for South Central, and we recognize that some of those solutions may be painful and certainly won't be popular, but they'll be temporary. The last thing we should do is adopt short-sighted solutions to short-term problems that are far more costly in the long run. In the long run, the Alaska LNG project will be a game changer, just like the Trans-Alaska Pipeline was and still is. I don't know about you, but I can't imagine an Alaska without taps. I shudder to think what our state would have become without it. Alaska LNG provides opportunities for low-cost energy, exports, data centers, our idle fertilizer plant, and the thousands of jobs that go with it that will cement our founders' vision of Alaska as a resource giant. We also can't forget that 20% of the income from the Alaska LNG project will be devoted to rural energy projects as well. That's potentially hundreds of millions of dollars per year This provision in the LNG project will transform the energy landscape in rural Alaska tremendously. Imagine surety of energy at prices comparable to the rail belt. This is what this project can bring. These are the opportunities we have to keep in mind when we're debating policies and resource development. We have a destiny to fulfill, and it's up to us to have the vision and the determination to see it through. We need the Alaska LNG project. We need the Dixon diversion. We need coal and carbon capture. We need wind. We need solar, geothermal, and we need to be able to transmit that power wherever and whenever it's needed. We reformed our rail belt transmission system last year to get rid of market-distorting wheeling charges. And we're taking another step this year to create the financing tools necessary to modernize our grid. Working together, we'll build a transmission system that can serve Alaskans and industries from around the world who are looking north at the same opportunities I see. I see opportunities to feed ourselves and grow our economy by taking advantage of our clean and abundant farmlands and fresh water. And we've taken action to enhance our food security over the past several years since the pandemic threatened our long and fragile supply lines. Last week, I took another major step by introducing an executive order to establish the Alaska Department of Agriculture. The Alaska Grown label shouldn't just be a logo on our sweatshirts. It should be on our tables, in our schools, in our stores, and in our restaurants here and around the world. By creating this department, we'll provide this industry with what it's needed to succeed. We will ensure that agriculture remains a priority for future administrations and legislatures as well. I believe this action will grow an industry that has lacked attention for some time. With your support, we'll stand up this new department over the next 2 years to position it for success. As I've traveled the country and the world during my administration, I'm often struck by how little people know about Alaska. And what they think they know is often very wrong. They may think we can't grow food because it's too cold. They may think we can't have solar power because it's too dark. They may think we can't have natural resource development because our environment is too fragile. They may simply think we just can't compete. I love proving these assumptions wrong. This past year, Alaskans were inspired by the performances of young folks who competed and achieved at the highest levels of their sport and gave us all something to cheer for here in Alaska. We saw Alyssa Pilley's journey from state basketball champion at Anchorage Diamond High to a collegiate All-American at Utah, and then the number 8 overall pick in the WNBA draft by the Minnesota Lynx. At the Summer Olympics, we saw Kristen Faulkner from Homer come out of nowhere to win 2 golds in cycling in Paris. At those same games, Sagan Magdalena joined the list of UA Fairbanks alums to win medals in the shooting sports with a silver in riflery. And in rugby, which wasn't even an Olympic sport until 2016, Chugiak High, Aliv Kelter, helped lead the USA to the bronze medal in a thrilling finish. Kelter isn't just a 3-time Olympian. She's also the national team's all-time leading scorer. And we're proud she still calls Alaska home. Whether they were born and raised here or honed their skills here, these young women are a part of Alaska's story, and Alaska is part of theirs. They truly represent the Alaska spirit. When they had an opportunity, they seized it. When they were given a chance, they showed they can lead the world. Aliv Kelter is here to represent this Alaskan spirit. So let's take a moment to recognize her achievements and for every Alaskan story like her, every story like hers, that inspire all of us. Aliv. I know, I'm dying. I shook her hand earlier today, and she almost broke it. Thanks for being here, and thanks for what you do for Alaska. Really appreciate it. So I'm an optimist. I'm an optimist because I believe in the people of Alaska and the great things we can accomplish together. The people are the reason I've stayed here for more than 40 years. I often tell people this story. They ask me why I stayed here. They say, is it the mountains? Is it the wildlife? It's the rivers. Is it the northern lights? It's the people. The people are the reason I chose to serve as well. I'd like to believe that's the same reason all of us are here, to serve as well. There's no doubt we're going to have our differences over the next few months, but I believe we're going to find more areas where we agree than we don't. That's because we're Alaskans. I believe that our wins are going to be Alaska wins. When we put our minds together to create good policy, great things are going to happen. I'm ready to get to work and to work together, and I know you are too. So I want to thank you again for the invitation to speak with you and our fellow Alaskans tonight. And I want to ask God to bless Alaska. And I want to ask God to bless the great state of Alaska and the United States of America. So thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
That was Governor Mike Dunleavy's State of the State address, live from the Capitol in Juneau. You've been listening to special coverage from Gavel, Alaska, and KT.
Hello again, my fellow Alaskans. Give me just a moment here. I am trying to get a few things changed around. I really do appreciate you guys all joining us here tonight. If you haven't liked this video, you haven't shared this video, please take a moment to do that right now. I am getting things switched around here on the screen. Bear with me. It's the lot of stuff that I still got to get set up on this to where it actually all works the way it's supposed to. It is a step-by-step process, let me tell you. But we just about got it all taken care of, back to normal again. After watching the broadcast today of what the governor has had to say, I don't see why there would be anybody here in Alaska that would disagree with the desires of what he wants to see the direction of Alaska to go. If you are paying attention to Gary Stevens and Bryce Edgman sitting in the back of the screen there, directly behind him, they kind of were doing the same number that you saw when it was Pelosi, and they were sitting there and just rolling their eyes and everything else. They do not have the best interests of Alaska at heart. They have openly declared that it is all about the agenda of the special interests, and that is the only party out there that they want to address, the only ones that they want to cater to. Us Alaskans, we are an afterthought. And that'll become very evident if they pass the BSA and pass the defined benefits and pension programs. You saw the clip yesterday if you watched the video of the news update of the state of Alaska for the past week. And you would have saw that Bert Stedman during the Finance Committee asked them to do a breakdown of what it will take to get rid of Alaska Development Corporation for our gas and completely eliminate their budget and completely get rid of them from the state of Alaska. That shows you where their objective is when it comes to expanding on our resources within our state. The majority that is in charge of both the Senate and the House have their own agenda, and it does not match the rest of Alaska. Excuse me, just one second here. Okay, so if you haven't liked and shared this video, please do that right now. I do want to give a couple of updates. I was monitoring on all the different channels, how many people were watching, where was I getting the best reach, and surprisingly enough, it's over on X. We had approximately 30 people watching at one time there, and it did jump up a few times a little bit higher than that, which is a really, really awesome, because that means at least 10% of the people that are subscribed to me over there was able to get a notification that we were live with nearly 6,000 here on Facebook, and the biggest number I saw watching at one time was 6. That should tell you everything you need to know about what Facebook is doing. They have completely squelched any sort of reach out there for Politadick on Facebook, and I've known this for a very long time. It's part of the reason why I kind of stepped back a little bit from as much posting as I used to do. But I am very active this year, and you are going to see that on a daily basis. I am going to constantly be putting out something every single day. I'm trying to make sure that I'm putting some sort of an update, whether it's nothing more than just sharing the governor's State of the State address that he had today, or you had our very first press conference with the new press secretary for President Trump. That was awesome to watch. It was one of the first press briefings that I have watched in a very long time, and we would have to go back 4 years to see the last time that I really appreciated having a press conference. What we've observed the last 4 years when it comes to transparency out there, it just does not exist in the world of the Biden administration, and it is like night and day between Trump and Biden out there, and the agenda that is for our nation, and particularly for the state of Alaska. President Trump is doing everything in his power right now to remove all hurdles out of the way, to be able to start developing up the resources within our state, and our Alaska legislators are doing everything that they possibly can in the majorities to put roadblocks directly in front of it. You may have heard about the HJR 4 House Journal resolution that they did yesterday for the renaming of Denali and McKinley, and the left stream media, the Mockingbird Media of Alaska, ADN, Alaska Beacon, Alaska News Source. They wanted to say the right wing of the Alaska Senate majority and House majority openly opposed any sort of resolutions that would have added on to that document that they were creating. They just wanted to be kissing the royal jewels of President Trump and could care less. And the Democrats, the heroes, the rhino Republicans that have majority with them, those out there, it just makes me shake my head that our media is so corrupt that they give the one-sided point of view. I actually sat and watched that floor session of the discussion of HJR 4, and if you haven't, take the time to go back and watch it. It's worth watching now because you can fast forward through all the stuff that had to sit there while they were writing up Amendment number 1, which was what took up the bulk of the entire time of that floor session, is waiting for that to get written up. Hearing each person stand up and speak about it, just to watch it get voted down along party lines. Kind of like when it came time to elect Bryce Edgman as the majority leader, the president of the Senate, the guy that sits there at the back of the desk. Excuse me, man, I got a frog in my throat. I've been working really hard today outside processing firewood for the cold snap that's been coming through in my off time. And anyways, Bryce Edgman and these guys just literally do not have no wants or desires to do what is best for all of Alaska. It is all about the special interest. Alaska AFL-CIO is the champion of the NGOs of Alaska, the non-government organizations, but they are the biggest union, 60,000 strong. They have housed underneath them NEA Alaska and the firefighters, the police officers. I mean, any government organization that you can think of out there that's paid with our taxes, They represent them, and they are sitting in Juneau right now with their lobbyists, and they are pushing their agenda. If you watched me last night when I gave my live stream, you would have heard a couple of different videos, one with Kathy Giesel, another one with Bert Stedman, and then about a 4-minute long video for Alaska AFL-CIO. I cut down their 20 minutes of their discussion last week and turned it into less than a 4-minute video. So you get a clear objective of who the special interests are and what we need to look out for. Now we got the one big group out there that is heavily funded by the left wing. They are activists, and they are not the good kind of activists. They are the ones that are doing everything in their power to shut us down. That is the Alaska Native movement. And they are the main head of the Fairbanks Action Climate Coalition. And their whole objective is to make sure that life is unlivable within the state of Alaska. It's all about green energy, the Green New Deal, and making sure that anything that would keep Alaska moving into the future at an affordable cost, they put roadblocks directly in front of it. If you look at the Fairbanks area, the North Star Borough, and I'm sure you've all heard about the fireplace issues that they have there. You got to have special permits. They have the alerts that come out, like when they hit -50 below and the inversion level is holding all the smoke down to the ground. You cannot burn your fireplace to keep warm unless you have a permit and you're using specially kiln dried wood. That's 3 times the cost of what I'm paying for here in the valley. And it is just completely makes you shake your head, the levels of the corruption that was within the different areas within Alaska. And it's ironic, you know, the money that they're using to do all of these activist things is coming from our government. Rasmussen Foundation is the one that gave the Native movement a $2 million grant that they handed over to the Fairbanks Action Climate Coalition that they're using to hire people to actively on a daily basis go after all the industries and file lawsuits within the state of Alaska. There was a write-up just about a week and a half ago from the Alaska News Source about the Native movement and President Trump's agenda. And they openly state that they are ready to file the lawsuits for everything and anything either our Governor Mike Dunleavy tries to do or what President Trump tries to do to access the resources of the state of Alaska. Okay, I am going to get off of my soapbox. You guys have been with me here long enough. Hopefully you have, again, liked and shared this video. If you're not subscribed to us yet on the channels that you're watching to us, please follow us, subscribe. We are going to be extremely active again this year. I'm doing my best to get more videos out there, be more Johnny on the spot. If you know someplace you would like to see me be at, please message me. If it's really juicy, I'll make sure I can try to get there. Help us grow. Money is really, really tight this year. And anything that you can help to show your support, please go to our website at Politadick.com and click that button. For you folks on X, where I had my biggest audience today watching, thank you. You guys were phenomenal. Make sure you share this video out there far and wide. The reach on X is amazing. It used to be, X is like what Facebook used to be when it comes to content and people actually being able to see what's being produced out there. I have more action on items over there than I've ever seen on Facebook in the last 2 years. And when you got 300 subscribers there and you got 6,000 on Facebook, but you're reaching more people on X than you're reaching on Facebook, it tells you everything that you need to know. But if you are on our website, and if you happen to be there right now, you'll see there's a live video running there at this moment. So anytime that we are live, we are also live on our website, and it is a portable player, just like most places except for Facebook. So you can carry that video around and watch what's going on while we're live. Once we're not live, though, you can always find these videos on X, Facebook, Rumble, and YouTube. We stream to all the channels at the exact same time, and as long as they don't take them down on those, it will always be there. I will not remove a video. No matter how many times it's been requested by the Alaska legislators when they said, well, we didn't want people to know that. Can you delete your video? The answer is no, hell no. I will never delete a video, ever, even if it makes me look bad. I'm upfront, honest, and unfiltered, and that's exactly the way our media should be out there, uncut and unfiltered. But they don't. They really just don't care. So again, thank you guys all for being here tonight. It has been greatly appreciated. If you haven't liked and shared this video, please do that right now. Go to our website at politadick.com, click that donate or support button. Show a little bit of kindness. Help us make it affordable to be able to get to different places other than here in my studio. And again, thank you guys all for being here tonight, and you guys all have yourself a great evening.